$1,842. That's your balance. Not your net worth, not your savings, your balance. It's 12:07 a.m. and you're lying on a mattress you got off Facebook Marketplace for $40, staring at your phone. Screen off, screen on. The number hasn't moved. You've got $34,000 in student loans, $3,900 sitting on a credit card, and a paycheck landing Friday that's already spoken for before it even arrives. You're 24, and you keep telling yourself you're not behind.
But you're standing in the checkout line, putting the good coffee back for the store brand, and some part of you already knows. That's what being behind feels like. Nobody just says it out loud. This isn't really a video about money. It's about the fact that at every level of it, you become a slightly different person to hold it. And if you watch this all the way through, you'll probably recognize exactly where you're standing right now. Stage 1, what zero actually feels like. At zero, money isn't math. It's a feeling wearing math's clothes. You check your balance more than your texts. You move $200 into savings and pull it back out 3 days later because the emergency was never hypothetical. Then a small raise lands, $2,600 a year before taxes. For about one afternoon, you feel like you made it. Then your car needs $780 in repairs. You learn the lesson everyone learns eventually.
Whatever room you make in your budget, something rushes in to fill it. You pay off your smallest card, $900. You take a screenshot of the zero balance. You don't send it to anyone because no one would understand why it matters this much. But it does, because for the first time, a number moved in the direction you chose, on purpose. Stage 2, the first 5 figures. At 26, you cross $10,000 saved. For the first time in your life, you check the account obsessively for a week. Not out of fear this time, out of disbelief. You don't touch it. You just let it exist. You start reading. Not motivational content, actual books on how money moves. You learn what an index fund is. You open a brokerage account and stare at it for 3 weeks before funding it. You put in $1,500. The market drops the next morning. Every instinct tells you to pull it back out. You don't. That single decision is the moment you find out whether fear runs your choices or you do. Stage 3, the plateau of fine. You're making $62,000 now. You've got $38,000 saved, a Roth IRA you actually contribute to. By every normal measure, you're doing everything right. Maxing what you're supposed to max, avoiding the lifestyle creep everyone warns you about. Then, one night you open a spreadsheet and run the real math 40 years out.
And something in your chest tightens. Because the number at the end isn't bad. It's fine. It's just not what you wanted. This is the plateau. You've gotten good at surviving. You haven't yet gotten good at building. Rule 2. A salary is a ceiling that's been dressed up to look like a floor. Once you see that clearly, you can't unsee it. Stage 4, the side door. You start something on weekends. You don't call it a business yet.
It brings in $400 a month, then $900, then $1,600. You don't tell your boss. You barely tell anyone. For over a year, you put every dollar it makes right back into it. Same car, same clothes, no upgrades. Your net worth crosses $85,000, then $130,000. You start feeling the gap between where a paycheck alone would have gotten you and where you actually are. And that gap is where leverage quietly lives. One year, your investments hand you $4,100 without you lifting a finger. You know what an asset is now. Not as a definition, but as a thing you can point to. Something that earns while you sleep. Time starts to feel different. Every hour that isn't compounding starts to feel like a small loss. At 32,
Your net worth is $175,000. You've got equity in a small rental property, a business bringing in $6,800 a month. You still drive the same car.
You've noticed talking about any of this makes people weird, either jealous or dismissive, and neither is useful. So you stop bringing it up. You start saying no to things that used to be automatic yeses. The destination wedding you can't actually afford. The group trip where an even split means you're quietly covering for 3 other people. No. You feel the friction it creates in your relationships. You feel it, and you say no anyway.
Stage 5. Money develops opinions. Around $340,000, your money starts to have a personality. It wants to go certain places and resists others. One investment returns $24,000 in 8 months. Another loses $10,500. You're not thrilled about the loss, but you don't panic, because now you understand this is simply the cost of playing the game at all. You don't retreat, you reposition. This is the part people below this level never quite get. The top isn't about avoiding risk. It's about choosing which risks you can actually sit with when they go sideways. Stage 6. Assets start buying each other. Below $500,000, you're still the one buying assets. Past it, the assets start buying each other. You can feel it coming, the way you feel a room's energy before you walk in. You're 36, net worth $940,000. You're sleeping worse, not from stress, from sheer intensity. You're running scenarios in the shower. You're emailing people in other time zones at 5:30 a.m. You turn down a job offer paying $215,000 a year because it just doesn't feel right. And you can't fully explain why, not even to your own parents. Then it happens. An unremarkable Tuesday. Your brokerage app refreshes. The number reads $1,020,000. You sit with it for a second, expecting to feel something enormous. There's a quiet, small satisfaction. And almost immediately, it's not enough. Not in a desperate way, in a clear, almost boring, practical way. $1 million at a 4% return is $40,000 a year. That's not freedom. That's a starting line. The real gut punch isn't that you're unhappy. It's realizing happiness was never actually the point, and you're only now willing to admit that to yourself. Stage 7. Money becomes a resource, not a feeling. By $2.4 million, money stops being an anxiety and becomes what it was always supposed to be, a resource, exactly like time, exactly like attention. You stop checking your checking account. You start thinking in terms of allocation. Where's the capital sitting? What's it actually returning? What are you not seeing? You hire a wealth manager. Then let him go once you realize you understand your own money better than he does. You find someone sharper, who charges more, talks less, and has clients whose names you recognize. Your business does $4.3 million in revenue. 2 rental properties, combined equity around $390,000. Portfolio sitting at $1.7 million. You're not rich the way people at dinner parties mean it. You're wealthy the way that actually means something. You have time, real time. You take a 3-week trip and don't open email for 5 straight days of it. That's the part nobody can buy at the lower levels. Not the trip, the 5 days. Stage 8, positioning, not building it. At $5 million, the texture of the game changes completely. It's no longer about building anything. It's about positioning capital correctly. You're moving money now, not working for it. That distinction sounds small. It's not. You're in one deal that'll return $850,000 in 18 months. You're in another that might return nothing at all. You know the difference, and you're in both anyway, because one hedges the other, and the actual trade is the relationship between them. You start meeting people sitting at 20 million, 60 million. You study them the way you once studied your first 10,000. Not what they own, but how they think. Their pace is slower. Their patience runs longer. They're not trying to win every hand. They're trying to outlast everyone else at the table. You stop talking money with people who don't have it. Not arrogance, accuracy. The conversations get imprecise. People attach meaning to numbers that the numbers were never carrying. At this altitude, $500,000 is a position size. It's not a life-changing sum. Saying that out loud in the wrong room makes you the villain of the story, so you keep it to yourself. Stage 9. Rooms with no name tags. At $14 million, you're walking into rooms you used to only read about. Not celebrity rooms, decision-making rooms. A family office managing $600 million wants to co-invest alongside you. A private equity firm is looking for an operating partner on an acquisition. You're at the table because your capital and your judgment are genuinely useful, not as a courtesy invite. That's a different flavor of power entirely. Your reputation has quietly become its own financial instrument now. It earns independent of your actions. A company you're invested in restructures its workforce. 140 people. You know the CFO personally. You've had dinner with him. You don't call about the layoffs. You review the cap table. You hold. Margins improve. Your position appreciates. You don't feel good about it. You don't feel bad about it. Not for long. What you feel is distance. The gap between your decisions and their consequences, quietly widening. You don't fight that widening. You let it happen. Stage 10. The machine runs without you. Net worth crosses $30 million. You're 54. There's a trust in place that'll outlast you, a foundation that costs $800,000 a year and doubles as access to rooms you'd otherwise never enter. You understand exactly what it is. You've stopped pretending otherwise about most things. Pretending costs energy, and energy is the one currency that never compounds. The game no longer needs your full presence. It needs your positioning. You could disappear for 6 months, and the machine keeps running. That was always the point of building it. You wake up to decisions already executed by people you trained, with frameworks you spent a decade refining. You hold pieces of 11 different companies. You have a direct line to people who shape policy. Not politicians, policy itself. You don't lobby, you advise. The difference matters to you, maybe more than it should. At $80 million, the isolation isn't loneliness. It's a different problem entirely. The people closest to you now exist at a different altitude, not by design, just by the natural selection of who you can actually talk to. Fund structures, dynasty trusts, secondaries, carve-outs, none of it translates to the people who knew you before. You're not a different person. Your context has become foreign to everyone who used to understand it. You give more than you ever have. Not for reputation, not entirely for the foundation's access, though, that's part of it. You give because at this altitude, money has stopped measuring anything meaningful about you. And giving is one of the few decisions left that still feels like it means something. The final stage, past $50 million. Money stops measuring your worth. It starts measuring your reach. You're 61. Net worth, $94 million. The exact number is known to exactly 3 people. You haven't worked a conventional day in 9 years. You haven't stopped working either. You think in cycles now, not quarters. Demographic cycles, infrastructure cycles, credit cycles. You position ahead of them the way an old sailor reads weather 3 days out. There's a board meeting. 5 people in a room with enough combined capital to reshape a mid-sized economy. You speak for 4 minutes. You ask 2 questions. The entire room recalibrates around those 2 questions. You leave before lunch is served. That's Power in its most compressed form. No spectacle, no raised voice, just a room that quietly adjusts itself to where you're standing. And right now, somewhere in this same country, a 24-year-old is opening a banking app for the first time today. Balance, $1,842. He's standing in a checkout line doing quiet math in his head. He puts the good coffee back.
Grabs the store brand instead. He thinks this is a story about money. He thinks if he just makes more of it, something in him will finally settle. He has no idea yet what actually has to change. Not the dollars, the distance, the gap between who you are at the start and who you have to become to reach the other end of this. The machine doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't ask if the trade is worth it. It opens every single morning and takes whoever shows up, and whoever keeps showing up, patient, unbothered, without asking the question everyone else is stuck asking, they compound. The money compounds, and so does everything else. The balance is $1,842. It always starts there. It always will.